Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the D-Shift podcast. And today we're going to talk about something that I think is important for you no matter what age of life you may be. And that is how to manage transitions in a way that are really healthy and that build confidence and make you feel really good about who you are. And there's lots of different ways to go about this. And I have an expert that addresses a whole bunch of different ways that people deal with these transitions and use them as, I'm going to say, springboards to creating the person that you want to be afterwards. So I have the opportunity to interview Heike Yates. She has over 35 years of experience as a midlife fitness expert. She's a mindset, she's a health and fitness coach. She is she's got nutritional background and expertise. And her goal is really to help people to move through big life transitions or just to make changes in their life. Heike is a podcast host and author of Pursue Your Spark, an amazing book that is just, I think, fairly new out. And she is also the creator of the Spark framework. So Heike, welcome.
Mardi, this is so delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, and thank you, because I think, I'm one of those midlife. Well, I'm pushing a little past midlife, I think, right now. But, the older you get, the more important all of these things, like that kind of holistic pursuit of wellness and well-being, is really important. So how did you get into this very specific but so essential role in life?
Let me start by saying this, Mardi. I'm going to be 65 in April, and I consider myself still being a midlife. And when I wrote my book, Pursue Your Spark, my idea was midlife is not just you are 50 and that's it. You're in menopause and that's it. No, midlife starts when I think about 40. And then goes up in my mind to 80, because at 80 years old, we have more therapeutic needs. We definitely things changes as we're going past that age mark. And not to say that women that are older don't start out with amazing things. They get master's degrees, they start new businesses and all kinds of wonderful things. But I got to the point of where I am now, helping midlife women that are stuck gain momentum in the health and fitness, is because a lot of people come to me and they say, I want to do Pilates. I'm like, great, I love Pilates, love strength training, love everything about exercise. And then as you start working with that client, all kinds of other things pop up. Once people start to connect their mind and body and really pay attention to what they're doing when they're exercising, and not just saying, okay, I'm having a conversation with Joe and I'm doing my weights and I'm just not focused. But you're really paying attention to how your body responds, what you feel during and after your workouts, that fueled for so many a deeper look into their habits, their environment, and what or they want or no longer want. And so I said, let's talk about that. Let's have these conversations, because the more we women, like we do today with your audience, we have these conversations, the more clarity women become of what they can do.
Yes. Yes. And that's what I love about this, because, we all know that, weight training is good to prevent osteoporosis, and balance work gets more important as we get older, and all of these kind of things we know intellectually, but I don't think we feel them. So I love that. And I think the other thing that you just mentioned that is so important, Heike, is that it's really how you feel and how exercise and all of this can change all parts of your body, your mind. I work with my clients when they're going through like divorce, which is a very stressful situation. And we work on kind of the 3 pillars of self-care: sleep, exercise, and nutrition, because I think if you get those under control, you can be so much more emotionally regulated and you're not running on that sense of overwhelm. So I don't know where we want to start with this, because there's so many cool topics and things. Let's talk a little bit about that whole idea of maybe you're in midlife and you're going, yeah, I'd really like to be fit. I don't want to be a size 2 or a size 4 or whatever that magic number is these days, but I do want to feel good in my body. And maybe I haven't been there for a while. Maybe things have kind of let slide and you're not feeling very physically fit. What are some simple things maybe that you could suggest, or how do people even go about starting this?
Feeling fit is such a vague umbrella that can mean a slew of things. Feeling fit to play with the grandkids, feeling fit to go for a hike, feeling strong enough to pick up the groceries, to garden. What does fit mean? Does fit mean size, clothing size? Does it mean, what does it really mean? I think us, or many of let's call it the fitness industry as an umbrella, has really done a disservice to us women to dangle the carrot in front of us and say, oh, you want to be fit and lean.
Yes.
And everybody's like, oh, yeah, I want that. This is great. This is not bulky. It doesn't sound like it's a lot of work, and fit sounds good. But when I think of fit, I think of the examples I used is, how do we go about our daily life? How do we carry through? How do we get better sleep? And you led with sleep in your business. Is how do I get better sleep? By the right amount of exercise, not over exercising. What does fit mean in that term? Do I do all the exercises we need to do to reach a balanced body, a balanced self? Or do we just focus on one niche? So I would rather say strong. Strong to me makes more sense. Strong is also measurable. When you think of a dumbbell, if I pick up a 3-pound or a 5-pound, you can tell the difference. If I pick up a Dynaband, whether I have the yellow or the blue one, you can tell the difference. When you pick up your grandkids and you're doing a perfect squat and picking up those little monkeys, you're like, yeah, look at me. I can do this without aches and pains. And I think going any age, I always say think of strong, because fit also, in my mind, implies being skinny.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Yes. And it's funny because I think when you said that about the fitness industry, I'm a very late comer to yoga. I just started yoga when I was 55 and I love it. I mean, I love it, but I had been very active. I'd been a rugby player. I played women's hockey. I had done a lot of very active things, very, very physically active and competitive things. And I thought yoga was kind of like, well, that's for old women to do yoga. But it is physically demanding to do yoga if you're doing it correctly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I used to teach yoga before I started teaching Pilates out of pure curiosity. I started teaching, and then I took over the yoga classes in the studio I was working at, because the yoga teacher just left us high and dry. And I said, here, I got my lesson plan. Follow me. And they're like, you know how bodies work. We'll do whatever you say, Heike. Do not worry about that. You don't know all the names.
But it is, body, and I'm sure for a lot of women, because again, we do get told a lot, we have to be weight training, but body weight is a way to train as well. And what can you expect? Like, we see the yoga bodies, right? If you watch yoga videos on TV, they're all these little, or on YouTube, they're all these little tiny itty bitty people. I'm noticing they're starting to have a lot more yoga trainers that are midlife women, or that are men, or that are maybe people that you wouldn't stereotypically think of as a yoga body. Mm-hmm. How does that help women when they're maybe stepping back into getting stronger and getting healthier?
I do hit on a good point, because we talk about in Pilates about the Pilates body. Now, I have my own interpretation about the Pilates body, but nobody else does. Because to me, the Pilates body means your body is aligned. For most everybody, is exactly what you said. Is these skinny little bodies that are like looking super flexible, and they can do all these moves, and you're like, oh my God, I could never in a million years do that. And one of my clients, she follows, I don't know who she does follow on Instagram, no, on TikTok. She follows this Pilates teacher and she says, you should look at her. She looks exactly like me. And she has a voluptuous Filipino body, right? And not in a million years will she ever be a Jennifer Aniston. Not in a
Right.
million years, no matter what you try. And so she can relate to that because she says, can we try this? So she sends me those little videos and she's like, I want to do that one. Can you teach me that one? I'm like, sure, we can start working on that. And I said, just remember that the person doing the video is a coach and she's been probably doing this for years and years and years. And we make it look easy, but just that she felt she could relate to a different body than the one that we're so accustomed to feels so good to me. And she could relate to it and that she has to trust and says, oh, I want to try this.
Yeah.
This looks really cool.
Yes, that was so I have to tell you this was my big goal. So I've been doing yoga now. So I'm 62. So for, I don't know, 7, 8 years. And my goal was to be able to do crow. That's all I wanted to do was be able to do. Now I can get both feet off the ground for maybe a count of 5 and then I can't do it. But you know what? It took me this long to get here, but I am so darn proud of myself when I do that, even for 5 seconds.
Yep.
It gives you that sense of accomplishment and confidence. And that's what I love about, the whole idea of pursuing your spark and the spark framework, because that really is what it's about, not seeing these transitions as failures or things that you're not good at, right?
Yeah, I don't believe that anybody is not good at anything. I don't like the notion of good versus bad. I ate badly today. Now I eat good tomorrow. I didn't exercise all weekend. Now I'm bad because I didn't exercise. And I always scratch my head and go like, people, we need to extinguish this language because we're going through testing. You check stuff out and
Right.
maybe some of the stuff is just not your thing because you are not as flexible. And what I've learned through all those over 20 years of teaching Pilates is that the bodies are so different and what works for one person doesn't work for the other because one person has a long torso, the other one has long arms. And so you look at the body and I'm going, why doesn't that work for that person? Oh yeah, this is the one with the long arms.
Right.
And so it's relevant, but the benefits you get from being curious to try out new things and you say, oh, this was great and I'll do this and I get better at the whole process of staying consistent and keep going no matter what the outcome is and how many times you fall out of your crow pose. It does not matter.
And a friend of mine, it's funny because I was talking to her and she's like me. She started yoga very, very late in life compared to where most people start. And it was interesting because she said the same thing to me. She said, I may not be able to do some of these poses, but I know how to fall really well. I don't hurt myself at all anymore. Because you do. I mean, you get, and I love the idea what you're saying about finding something that works for you and working with that as opposed to you have to do, use the equipment to do weight training or you have to do such and such and I think as a lot of women, we do feel that obligation sometimes. We get marketed to so much about what we need to do and, we should be doing this and this is important. And it gets a little overwhelming. And you add something like a big life transition in and trying to manage maybe getting stronger, getting healthier, getting more confident about movement and activity. And it becomes almost like, well, what's the point in trying because I know I can't do whatever the thing is that they're suggesting. Can you talk to women about how to maybe make a mindset shift around that? I know that's one of your areas of expertise.
What came to mind when you talked about this, about a former client that I was working with who does not want to go to the gym. She is doing some Pilates, mat Pilates on the side, but her passion is kayaking.
Mm.
And kayaking is exercise. So think of your everyday activities as exercise. Kayaking is a kick butt core work and arm workout. Think of if you're riding your bike, you get a great cardio workout for your heart. So the activities you do, you garden, you schlep the mulch. It's a strength training. So it doesn't have to be in a certain place in order to get the benefits from what it is you do, and you don't have to go somewhere or follow a video. It depends on really what you want. And we have so many choices. And you talked about body weight exercises, and I know most women hate push-ups. It's okay. We do a little bit, but is body weight exercises, all kinds of things you can do with the squats, the lunges, the whatever else is out there. But you don't have to go to a certain place, and you don't have to be tied to a studio or a place or a piece of equipment. Your body is the piece of equipment. Think of it from a different point of view, that you can, no matter how old or what condition you're in, for the most part, you can start with whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think if there's one thing positive, well, I think there's a few things positive that came out of the whole COVID realignment of the world. But one of the things was that people did become more confident in turning on a YouTube video or working with a coach who provided, coaching services. So you could just meet with them once a week. They gave you a routine. They assessed how things were going. They helped you. I worked with a lady who did Tai Chi with a coach online, and they did a group thing on Zoom. And I think that just opened up people's worlds, because if you're busy, if you're a busy woman, if you're running a business, or you've got, you're an employee, or you've got kids to look after, or maybe you're looking after your parents, it can be really tough to drive to a gym, work out for an hour, and then drive home, have a shower. That can be 3 hours blocked out of your day. And most people I know don't have the luxury of taking 3 hours out of their day.
This will never happen. This is good intentions.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time to drive these distances that you could spend doing something for your health rather than stressing out, unless you listen to meditation, I guess. But yeah, it's not realistic. Just is not, for my experience.
Yeah. So I've got a question, Heike. How do you work with your clients?
Be more specific.
Like when you're helping them, do you do both online and in-person classes and coaching services? How does that work?
So I have my studio here in Maryland. I have a one-on-one in-person studio where I see people just one-on-one, because that's what I chose to do. And I see, so the people come to my studio, I work with them one-on-one in Pilates, strength training, or sports or nutrition coaching, whatever, or a combination of those, depending on what's going on. I see also people virtually, same idea, one-on-one coaching. The only group training I do is through Pursue Your Spark, where I have a small group of women that I take through an 8-week course where the videos are pre-recorded, but we meet on a weekly basis to hash out what we need to do, where we are, what's going on, questions about the exercises or additional supplemental things that they might want to do, or questions that they have. But I do a whole combination of those. And during COVID, this was really fabulous, because I offered this to my clients. Not everybody took it on. I said, well, and the reason they didn't take it on was interesting, because they had experience with coaches that worked with them virtually and were not paying attention to them. The thing I got the most was, but you can't see me. I said, well, if you set the camera up right, and I will tell you where to put the camera, where I will see you, and I will watch you the entire 55 minutes. I will not be on my phone. I will not go to the bathroom or do other activities.
Right.
I'm here, like I am right there with you. And the people that have stuck with it, they can say, it's like you're right here.
Yeah.
Basically before I do it, what I'm going to do, and you say, hey, wait, nope, this is not how we're doing this. Or, hey, pay attention. This is not good. This is not how I planned it. And so, and those people who just said, I don't know, it's like, it's the same service. It's not in person, which is fine, but we are not less because we're virtual. We have an expertise.
Yeah, I think that is so important. And I think it's important for women to understand that this is available. You don't, I live in a small rural area. So, I do have a gym that's about 15 minutes away, but it's mostly just a it's one of those 24-hour, there's
Ah,
nobody really there. There's just the equipment, but they do have yoga classes 2 nights a week. And then they have a cardio class 3 mornings a week. And so I try to go to those, but again, it's not as personalized as a one-on-one training as what you provide. And I'm lucky because it's close. If I had to go, like the nearest Planet Fitness or something is a 2-hour drive for me. That's like a real gym. So it's having this online experience is really amazing to be able to help you get through big transitions or just to make changes in your life wherever you may be. I think that's
and
fantastic.
you may not want to go to a gym, especially like you said, you're going after divorce, you're self-conscious, you don't want to be, but for a lot of women say that I feel they're looking at me all the time. They're staring at me. And that's the truth. I mean, people are just curious, but you feel it. And then at those times, you're a lot more sensitive when it
Right.
comes to that. And you are better off creating your own little home gym with some bands and some weights, or even just a yoga mat. Because for yoga, you don't need anything. For Pilates, you don't need anything. And you can
Right.
throw in some body weight exercises and you're done. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and I always feel that anything you're doing that's a little bit more than you did yesterday is a great step forward. It doesn't have, you don't have to go be able to do all these exotic poses and everything else. It's really just getting out there and trying. And I think the other important thing is having fun. Like find something that you enjoy and that the one thing I do like about yoga and a little bit of Pilates that I've ever done is that it really is, it's a focus on the whole you. So it's the breath work in combination with the body movement. And if you're doing it right, you're really not thinking about all, your grocery list and your to-do list. And you're really focused and present. And it's almost like you walk out of there, I do anyhow, and feel way more refreshed mentally and physically than when I walked in, even though I may have just done a whole day's work and I feel pretty exhausted when I walk into the class. So it's amazing.
yeah. That's the mindfulness aspect that I so appreciate when it comes to exercise. And that's when I said earlier, people that are yippee yapping and they're not paying attention, or they're following a magazine, which is happens often at the gym. There's a magazine on the bench next to them, people trying to emulate what they see. There's
Right.
so many choices we have now, and good choices. Of course, you have to vet the person that you work with or virtually work with, or the program you choose. But the joy of it is, as long as you're curious, you can try one after the other until you find the thing that lights you up.
Yes, yes, yeah. Heike, we are almost out of time. I cannot believe how fast these conversations go. You have a gift for the audience. Can you share a little bit about your gift that is the Midlife Reset Guide?
The Midlife Reset Guide is designed for the woman who is stuck at the moment or wants to restart something or doesn't know where to start. It's very simple. It's 3 simple steps for your fitness, your nutrition, and for your mindset strategies for your what am I going to do when I'm stressed out kind of situation. And it's very simple. So no overwhelm for this guide. And you can download it from my website.
Wonderful. And tell us a little bit about your book. I see it in your background, and I meant to ask you about it before. Pursue Your Spark. Tell us a little bit about that.
Pursue Your Spark is again for the woman who is stuck. And this woman is stuck in a gap that turns into a trap. So our losing momentum becomes a space in between where we're feeling we're no longer can come out of it, which is like your transition as well. So it's a transition, but we're trying to figure out how we can get out. And if we're not making a concerted effort to go out of this, it turns into a trap. And the trap is more severe than the gap because now we're really trapped and we are stuck. And so the book is a guide to help you pursue that spark and get moving in the right direction and get more confidence with the steps in the book. There are some fitness and nutrition worksheets as well, and some chapters that deal with this, but it's primarily helping you get the ball rolling, get momentum going. And the Spark framework is based on that as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. And it sounds like a perfect book for post-divorce situations, because lots of times after you go through particularly a very acrimonious divorce, and you finally get it done, there's just like this kind of void that exists where you don't really know what you're doing because you put all your energy into getting divorced and now it's done. And now what do I do? So that would be a perfect book to read at any point in time, but I'm thinking particularly for those people. And Heike, I'm going to come back to you and ask you one last question here. Well, actually, there's two questions, but the first one is, what do you think is the most important thing that you'd like to people to have as the takeaway from our talk today?
It comes back to, it is never too late. You never go back to redo. You start anew from where you are at that moment in time.
That is so perfect. I always tell people that stop trying to go back to before you got married and just honor who you are today as you're going through this process. Now, Heike, if people want to find out more about you or work with you or arrange to come to your studio, what is the best way to do that?
You can find me anywhere by Googling my name, Heike Yates, HeikeYates. Anywhere. You can also find me pretty much on all social media by Googling the same name. My book, Pursue Your Spark, you can find on all major book retailers, Amazon, Bookshop, or Barnes & Noble, or wherever books are sold everywhere. And my book is in softcover, ebook, and also an audiobook, which is so ideal for us. You can walk with me while I'm not reading it, but while you're listening to my book.
Thank you so much. And I will make sure that all of this information is in the show notes, and I will put the Amazon link for your book in the show notes as well. And if you're driving or walking or doing your own thing, don't worry about it because all that will be in the show notes below as soon as we get this out on the podcast. So Heike, thank you so much for being here today. This was a really motivational and inspirational conversation. And I think, this overall feeling strong, confident, and full of energy is just a gift we should be looking to give ourselves every single day of the year. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Marty. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening into this episode of The D Shift. Get out there and do something active today. That is our challenge to you. Take care and tune in again to the next episode. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.